Now, pretty much all my videos so far have been me judging you, me judging your driving habits, me judging the mods you put on your car. That's pretty much it. But this one is a bit different because today it is not me against you. It is not driver versus driver. It is us, the drivers, versus the manufacturer. Today we are talking about good car features that are actively being phased out or have been completely removed from modern cars. Car manufacturers these days are obsessed with fixing things that are not even broken. It is absolutely insane. So we got a bunch of good ones to get into. Before I get into the tiers, I just want to say that I am doing a community involved video. If you guys want to put some input into my next video, which will be about driving habits, but me ranking yours, go to my post tab and comment on the post there for your chance to have input in one of my videos. That being said, let's get right into the tiers. Starting with the no big deal tier, I think a lot of people might be upset that some of these are being removed, but to be honest, from my objective standpoint, I don't think they really matter. Next, we got oh well, where look, I'm not happy these are gone, but doesn't make that big of an impact in anyone's daily life. I don't think so. Stepping it up, we got please don't go, where I think now it's starting to matter, right? These features are significantly important and they're being phased out for probably worse counterparts. Highly important, where the features here are highly important. And finally, bring back ASAP, where the automakers who are removing the features here are actively making our lives harder with unintuitive features, replacing the ones here that are actually good. With that being said, let's get into our first one, which is a very good one. We have physical climate controls. Now here's the deal. I was going to do an over-encompassing physical buttons. However, I think climate controls are one of the most important physical buttons in the modern car. So often you adjust climate, you get a little too hot, you get it a little too cold pretty quickly, and you want to adjust that on the spot wherever you are on the road. The problem is with modern car manufacturers and their increasing obsession with putting everything on a screen, HVAC controls have started to leave the physical button realm. Okay, heated seats, air conditioning, heating, it's all on a screen in some of these cars now. And as I said before, this is something you just want to quickly change. You don't want to have to go through 7 layers of encrypted screen security just to put on your seat warmer. And this is even funnier when you see that governments are making the push against distracted driving, which I totally agree with. They're putting cops at stoplights to stop people from going on their phones. I agree with that. Look, I'm in big support of preventing distracted driving, but it feels kind of counterintuitive when all these car manufacturers are starting to make the screen more distracting, which is pretty much a phone. So for that reason, I'm going to start it right off at bring back ASAP. We need some of these physical controls back. Switching gears a bit, we got pop-up headlights. Now, a while ago, these were very common in sports cars, but now they haven't been seen on a new car in quite some time. And a lot of people think this is because they are outright banned. That is not true. They are not outright banned, but there are a bunch of pedestrian safety laws in place that basically make it super hard to implement these. And the logic here is that if a car with pop-ups strikes a pedestrian, it could be more dangerous for the pedestrian than if the car did not have pop-ups. Now, this kind of makes sense until you realize that the modern car market is flooded with trucks that are taller than the average NBA player. And I think in terms of limited vision, that's way more of a risk to pedestrians than any low sports car will ever be. These trucks are massive, and I think those are the problem more than the 2,000-pound NA Miata that happens to have its pop-ups up. However, I don't think pop-ups are a big deal. Do I think it'd be cool if a modern car came back with some retro styling cues like these pop-ups? Absolutely, that would look sick. However, it's not too big of a deal. I think I'll put it at oh well. Next up, we have the traditional automatic shifter. Now, it feels like every single manufacturer who produces automatic vehicles, so all of them, are at a race to the bottom to make the worst shifter possible. And currently leading the pack is Land Rover. Some of their shifters are a literal rotary dial. It's like you're calling your mom on like an old phone, except it's in your car, it's your gear shift. The worst part about this dial is that it actually sits flush when the car is off with the center console. Then when you turn the vehicle on, it extends out, it like levitates out. So let me just make this abundantly clear for you guys. Not only do you have a gear shifter that could be confused with a volume knob, which I mean, I don't even have to go into why that's a problem. You have a gear shifter that's not even accessible when the car is off. And this begs the question, what if the car dies, right? It's not a Toyota, it's a Land Rover. So that's not what if, it's when the car dies. What are you going to do? I genuinely don't know. This is an actual question. What are you going to do? Maybe I should have done more research. I'm sure there's some like Land Rover fanboy in the comments named like James or something that's going to school me on how there's like some safety feature or some latch that you can hit and then you can like emergency over. I don't care. Okay. All I know, this is terrible design. The good thing about the modern shifter, it is clear what gear you are in. It is a bit of a challenge to change gears, and I think that's a very good thing. You should not easily be able to switch gears. It should be tactile. It should be at least somewhat mechanical. We really need these shifters back, but companies in an effort to look sleek are actively removing them. They're being replaced with push buttons. They're being replaced with dials. All these needless things. We really need these back. I think there are some modern gear shifters that are okay, but nothing will ever replace the good old mechanical one. For that reason, I'm putting this in highly important. Next up, we have the physical owner's manual. Now, a lot of car companies, I don't know if this is like an environmental thing or like a cost-saving thing, they've started putting their user manuals digitally, right? You can have an app, maybe it's like a PDF that you get with the car. And here's the issue with that, is that often when you need the user's manual, you may not have access to these things. Like, what if you're stranded, right, in the middle of some desert, right? You're taking a road trip, your phone's dead, and then your car's messed up, right? There's no user's manual you can access. Now, I get this is a niche situation, but I just think that this is not a good idea. A physical copy user's manual always wins, okay? You can have a digital copy if you want, and I'm sure all cars have that, but a physical copy is just so important. Yes, you can print a PDF and I guess like staple it together or something, but like, why not just include the user's manual from the get-go? I do think this is not a crazy big deal, but I'd like to see these back. Please don't go. Next up, we have full-sized tires being removed. Now, a lot of companies claim this helps with space saving, which I can see, but then also weight reduction, which really makes no sense. First of all, if it's not a high-performance vehicle, who cares about weight reduction? If it's just your normal economy car, even somewhat of a sports car, it's not really going to make a difference, right? It's only for performance vehicles this might actually matter. And then also, if you really want the spare tire out, you can just take it out. That's the cool thing about free will. You could just go into your trunk or under your car and grab it. It's crazy. I know it's a crazy concept, but these car manufacturers, I wish they still included it. Spare tires are clutch. They can save you a lot of headaches, tow trucks, etc. I think I'm going to put this in please don't go. Next up, we have the analog gauge clusters, or your speedometer being manual and not a screen. Guys, this is huge, okay? Having essential information like your speed, like your oil temp, on a screen just feels wrong. Why does everything have to be a screen? Why does everything have to be computerized? Can some things just be mechanical? So I know they'll always work even if the car is like super messed up, right? I don't see why we need another piece of technology to deal with in these cars, another screen to replace when it breaks. I don't see why we need that. I think some companies thankfully have caught on to the fact that not everyone wants this. The one that comes to mind is Subaru. I think a lot of Subaru customers appreciate the fact that they're still, for the most part, sticking to analog gauge clusters. And I really appreciate that too. All right, this is essential information. I just want to read it normally. I don't need some cool animation when the car accelerates. I don't need any of that. Just give me my analog gauge cluster and we'll be fine. I think because of the fact that this marks a concerning trend towards everything being digital in these cars, I think I'm going to put this in highly important. Next up, CD players. Now look, I'm a very young jit, all right? I grew up with these a bit, but for all of my driving career and for the most part of my life, I've been listening to music either on the radio or just with Bluetooth audio. And Bluetooth audio has gotten very good. And this new invention called Spotify means that you can play any song anytime you want, podcast, you name it, you can play it. So I get the nostalgia factor of these CDs, especially maybe if you're a bit older, you collect them, stuff like that. But to be honest with you, these take up some room. They're not really that important, unfortunately. It's no big deal for me. Okay, next up, we got one that is just a prime example, and I mean a prime example of auto manufacturers taking something that already works perfectly fine, that is simple, that doesn't need any innovation, and ruining it. We have the disappearance of traditional turn signal stocks. How does your traditional turn signal work? You flick it down, it stays down, it indicates that you're turning left in the case if it's down, and then when you flick it back to the neutral position, can anyone take a guess what happens? You're no longer signaling. But what have a lot of these modern German manufacturers done? They have made the neutral position the default position at all times. Let's say you want to go left, you flick your turn signal down. Instead of staying down, it returns to its neutral position, right? So let's just do a little scenario here, okay? You flick the turn signal down to make your left turn. Whoops, I meant to keep going straight. Let me just undo it. So you're like, okay, well, it's already in the neutral position. I think I'll flick it right. But guess what? When you flick your turn signal right, it will indicate that you're going right. So then you're like, well, how do I cancel it out? You keep going back and forth, just signaling each way. There is no obvious neutral position. From my limited Google research, I found that you have to flick it again in the same way, which is at the end of the day not a big deal, and I think you get very used to that. But then that just begs the question, why did we even do this in the first place? Signaling is so important. So when we overcomplicate something like this for literally no reason, this starts to create an issue where it's like, okay, now why are we doing this, right? So why add a learning curve to something as basic and as important and essential as turn signals, right? Just on the principle alone that they're phasing out something that works perfectly fine and needs no innovation, I'm putting this in bring back ASAP. Next up, we have part 2 of physical buttons, and that is the physical volume knob. Now, this is a big trend in a lot of cars to digitalize everything, all right? I already talked about this, but another one that's super annoying that's being turned digital is the volume knob. The volume knob is such an important and key and crucial thing just to have as a quick knob, okay? It allows you to turn the volume down quickly. Say there's an ambulance or you have kids in the back and they're yelling at you. Turn the volume down quickly and focus on the road. The traditional volume knob is so handy and so important, especially when you get into a car that doesn't have one and then go back to a car that does. You realize its importance. For that reason, this is a highly important feature. Next up, this is not really a feature, but more of a general topic, and that is the disappearance of modern small cars. It seems like every day a small car goes out of production and some new pickup truck comes into production. And honestly, that makes no sense to me. These small cars are so practical. You can fit yourself, a passenger, sometimes 2 more passengers if they have no legs, and some cargo in the back in a super small, compact package. In dense urban areas, they are super maneuverable. They are super easy to park. You can parallel park them. You can sometimes double park them with your fellow small car owners. These cars are so nice. They're fun to toss around, and I really hate to see them go, but unfortunately, that's where the car market is headed. Oh, but you're just a stupid American that thinks that the world revolves around him. Here in Europe, they're everywhere. Actually, I'm Canadian. I really hate to see these cars go. I think they are so practical. And this just shows that cars are getting bigger and bigger and bigger for virtually no reason. I love these things and I genuinely hate to see them go. Next up, we have physical turnkeys. Now, these have slowly been fading out, right? Once upon a time, they're seen in most economy cars and only luxury cars actually had push button start. But now they're pretty much completely phased out, and I think push button start is pretty much standard. Now, look, I do think it's satisfying to turn the ignition, right? Push button starts are kind of cool, but at the end of the day, it's just another button. And turning the ignition, it feels right. And I also think there's some security argument to be made to having an actual key access your car rather than just proximity push button start. However, the convenience proximity start adds is huge. Not having to fumble around for your keys to unlock and start your car, that is huge convenience. I understand there may be a security factor. For example, if you guys have seen like last year, the Kia boys blew up, and they're basically these guys who were able to rip the push button starts off Kias and start the car with a USB. And look, yeah, we got some security issues there, but I think for the most part, the push button has been a very good innovation. I will always have a special place in my heart for turnkeys. However, it's not a big deal. I'm putting this in oh well. Finally, we have the disappearance of aux and USB-A for USB-C ports in cars. Now, there's no doubt the world is moving towards one singular charger. Even Apple products are switching over, and that is USB-C. And while I think a lot of people would still get use out of a USB and aux port, I think Bluetooth has gotten pretty good, and USB-C has gotten very common. And it's to the point where, honestly, in 5 years, I think these will be obsolete ports. They won't really be that important. For that reason, I'm putting this one in no big deal. Guys, if you're still here, you have witnessed a banger being dropped onto your screens, okay? I've just spit some serious game for complete free, by the way. No paywall for this stuff. It's just out there on the public domain, on the net, for you guys to enjoy and learn from. So if you guys do agree with the takes, let me know. If you guys hate my content, let me know. I really appreciate all of you guys, especially if you're still here. And we are going to be on the grind. I'm pushing this channel, like I said at the start, and like I will continue to say time and time again. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Take care.